Well, greetings, my radio listeners. Today we're back. Princess Denise Wright with Matters of the Heart Radio Ministry broadcasts. Yes, we're still streaming, we're still on the radio, and we still got good information for you that you do not want to turn from this dial right now. I will ask you, please keep it right there where you have it right now. If you're driving, continue to drive and listen. If you're right there in the comforts of your home, listening on the sofa or the dining room table or whatever, I want you to keep it locked right there because we still have another 25 minutes or so that we will be continuing with this broadcast of our conversation today. So as I've already stated earlier, I have my special guest that's in the studio with me today, and that is Cathi Chamberlain. And truly, she has really been pouring out from the crown of her head, just pointed out information that she's saying is very vital for us to listen to. Some of you may out there be saying, well, I don't believe that. I don't believe this. I don't believe it, because we all got our own thoughts and feelings about things. But the thing about it is just listen to what is going to come forth, that additional information that Cathi have for us. We're still waiting on Jeremy Brown to see if he's going to be able to call in today. If so, that would be great as well. For the most part, we're going to keep it moving. In Jesus' name, with what we're doing right now for the broadcast. We're almost there, and we still have information to share with you. Isn't that right, Cathi?
Oh, I have plenty, as long as they're not throwing their shoes at the radio or at the at their phones. Folks, listen, and this is why it is so critical to understand. I don't judge anybody. Neither does Jeremy. And I don't, because I used to be a Democrat and a liberal. And I realize that we all learn at our own pace, and when God feels the need to open our hearts and minds and
doors for you to go another direction. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
And so you know, there's the main thing is to keep searching for the truth, because anything other than that is designed to confuse us and to create chaos. And all you have to do really is kind of look around to what's happening in our country today. I mean, think about just something simple like the immigration. Why is it that intentionally thousands and thousands of people are being let through our borders when we can barely take care of our own?
And we don't.
Right. The numbers of homeless are growing. The numbers of those who are now dependent on government are growing. This never happened. You know, we can look back on how people got so dependent on food stamps, for example, or welfare, or the fathers of family units were separated. Jeremy, it rolls off of his tongue. He understands fully how all of these processes have come together to really divide us. I just met this morning with Greg Porter, who is the president of the Black Republican Club down here. They meet once a month at the hangar near the airport there. Yeah. I just love him. He's a young black guy who is who really understands what's going on, and to listen to him is incredible. We just happened to bump into each other. I was down there with all of our canvassers. Tina Peters is the head of our canvassing group for Jeremy Brown's campaign. She runs a group called Precinct Defenders. And they're basically all about ensuring that our votes are secure.
Well, they need to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, because the counter, the leftist counter to a secure vote is that if we say we want to check the ID cards of people voting. Think about that logically. Doesn't that make a lot of sense to do? I just want to know that if you're voting, it's you. That's all. We're
showing
very
our
simple.
Identification, absolutely.
And yet the left tries to make it sound as though people like me, are suppressing votes. How is that suppressing a vote exactly? I don't know.
As if you don't need to show anything at all. Just show
Yeah.
up.
So that means the thousands and hundreds of thousands, really, of these immigrants from a different country are allowed to come in and vote for who represents us and take our money and get on the government and take the money that really is rightfully belongs to us, we the people here. I mean, it doesn't make any sense if you start thinking about it.
Can you tell me, do you have an idea what type of money they provide for them? I know I've been hearing it for umpteen years, but do they really help them out a lot?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I never know what measure of it. I've always heard that they may want a house and they make sure that they help them, provide them with the money to get that and all other kind of stuff for years, but I've never gotten into to just find out what's the depth of it that they really do.
Well, as soon as they cross the border, there are a lot of agencies that come to their aid, and mostly they're actually Catholic nonprofits, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
And these nonprofit Catholic groups are given a lot of money from our government to be able to start these people up with housing, with car payments,
Okay.
with even the ones that you hear about them busing or flying up to different states. Right now, Mayor
from Texas, from
up
Texas.
to D.C. You've heard about the chaos that's creating.
Yeah, let me see, D.C. and New York.
Yes.
And Chicago.
Mayor Muriel Bowser. Okay, she's complaining now. Why is she complaining? Because she's getting overrun by immigrants that Texas is sending up to D.C. I think that's a brilliant move by Texas. Let them see for themselves what it feels like when you overrun a community with so many extra people that you don't have money for. So now I just found out that that the Congress are giving they're giving D.C. federal dollars that are going to take care of these immigrants. They're putting these immigrants up in $300 a night hotel rooms, believe it or not.
I did hear that.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's insane, people. What are they doing to us? Who do you think is losing a job because these immigrants now are taking our jobs?
Whoever is living in America, whoever is got a job and losing their job or getting moved out, because they are helping quite a few people.
Of course, that's going to affect somebody. Who's it going to affect? It's going to affect the people on minimum wage first, because that's going to drag down the minimum wage. And you know why they're doing this, Denise?
Why?
Well, this is all written in the Communist Manifesto and in Rules for Radicals book, is that the idea is to implode all of our systems, our welfare systems even. That's their target. Their target is to put so many people on welfare that it naturally breaks the system down, because you can only take so much.
That's
right?
Absolutely.
And so once they do that, they figure that's when their guaranteed annual income is going to take effect. And once we're all on guaranteed annual income, that means we're all going to be living under the control and the power of the government, whoever controls that at the time. And I don't care whether it's Republican. I don't care whether it's Democrat, folks. It doesn't matter. We are built on a republic, and we have worked hard from the time of slavery until today to make sure that we all have the same rights. And what they're doing now is basically taking our rights away and giving them to strangers in our land. And the Bible warns about letting strangers overwhelm our land.
Yes. Yeah, I guess it's Greg Abbott. I guess he the governor of Texas there. So I guess you think he was really taking care of these, doing things to providing what the people needed, or just wanted to have the deciding we need to get them out of our area and send them on to other states?
Well, they were being overrun. All those people at the border down there, the ranchers and the folks that really own their own lands, that they worked hard for, that their generations before them worked hard for, they are being overrun, and they're scared to death because these immigrants, and they're not all there. There's a lot of what they call OTMs, other than Mexicans, and they're from terrorist countries, from Iran, from China, from and I'm not calling China a terrorist country, and I'm certainly not calling all the people within those countries terrorists. So don't start calling me a xenophobe like everybody attacked Trump for. Okay, And that's kind of how they attack us, by ridiculing us when we say something that makes sense and is logical. Soloninsky's fifth tactic, tactic number 5, is the biggest enemy. Or the biggest way to attack your enemy is by ridicule. So when they call us racists and xenophobes and sexists and all this stuff, it's just really truly to make everybody look at the person who happens to be the target at the time, which back then was Trump for 6 years now. He still is. But think about it, because what he was saying was so logical. He did not want terrorists in our country. But by the other side, the left, calling him a xenophobe, everybody then thought he was some sort of a racist. And it's just a shame how easily we fall into that trap of believing what others want us to believe.
Oh, yes. People will say what they want to say, and they will come up with it. And you can't tell them any difference. I
know.
And they do. They want to stick with what they believe too. And truly, it's one of those things that I always say too. Do people want to hear the truth, or do you want to hear a lie? And if you were to ask me, I want to hear the truth. That's right. But when you tell the truth, tell the truth. If it is true what you're saying, and you are trying to do things right and in a decent and order, and really trying to help the people, and that's what I don't expect the government to take care of me, no, because they don't. But however, I can say this is I do know who is blessing me and taking care of me every day and making it possible for me to wake up each and every morning to see another day. I certainly know who that is, and I thank God for that. But however, that's all it is, because, people will lie, because it is just like that. When you won't tell the truth about something, okay, why are you deceiving the people if you are a person that is putting something out there that's not the truth? But if you're putting the truth out there, I'm all for it. If you're telling the truth and you're really trying to do something to help the people in our country. But I know we certainly sent enough out of the country, especially all these billions we don't send to Ukraine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. That's right. We have sent some money over there since the war started, I think in February. So it is really going, and truly, when we're talking about billions, not millions, billions of dollars that have been sent over there 3 or 4 times. I don't lost count. But it's quite a bit.
And this is why Jeremy has decided to run, by the way, and again, and not just to win, but to warn, because what's going on right now, and Jeremy's platform is freedom, family, fairness. And
okay.
Yes, and
the 3 F's.
The
all
3
right.
F's.
Yes. All right.
And he's very, very passionate about that. And I'm wondering if he didn't experience a lockdown there in jail, because he's normally very, very good at calling back. I'm really, to listen to him is just amazing, because I can't do him justice, but I can tell you that he is so passionate about fairness. Especially the criminal justice system is such a mess. He's in Pinellas County Jail right now, teaching other inmates from this district. By the way, there are several of them. We're going to be getting testimonies from them and sharing them with people who want to know more about Jeremy's campaign. But they've even told us that, told me personally, because I've gone to visit them, how much Jeremy has helped them in the jail system there with their cases, teaching them the Constitution, about their rights, and teaching them about the Bible as well. But in particular with their rights, like what you were just saying, why does the government want to give free money? The reason is because they want to control us.
The people.
That's right. And the more you're dependent on somebody else, the less freedom you have. And Jeremy's very strong about that, where he would like to be able to teach people how to how to make their own living rather than just hand money over to them, because Jeremy believes that especially with the black community, that the government has stripped the black community of so much over the decades. Just something so simple like incarcerating so many of the black men.
Well, I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah. Well, he believes that it's an intentional government act to divide. To divide blacks from whites. Jeremy believes that is all intentional. We see almost race war starting right now. We see where a lot of black men are starting to turn on on white people. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's really because you and I have such different views? No, I don't believe that for an instant. I'm not a racist. I don't think you're a racist. But the government seems to be continuously dividing us by the processes they have. Another thing Jeremy's very upset over is how many how many single moms in the black community there are that the black men have been divided from their families.
Being with their families, exactly.
And it's broken down.
I think we do have a caller on the line that would like to participate in the conversation. So I'm going to put the caller on if it's okay with you. Caller,
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, how you doing? I would like to call, at least express a comment in reference to the candidate Jeremy that's running this year for state house. Is that state house or state rep?
A state representative.
State rep.
Mm-hmm.
State representative.
Yes.
I was understanding. I was trying to get some of the rhyme and reasons. I guess you're trying to. The guest was trying to explain Jeremy's purpose in Washington D.C. during the insurrection about that. I guess he was there for a volunteer. And that with all the propaganda that went out on whether it's Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth, there is no accident if you ended up in Washington, D.C. on that particular weekend, and there was no doubt about what was the message in there. And I know there is no goodwill into what the purpose of that being there. So it seems like there are a lot of stuff that I like your guest explain for Jeremy purposes, and then what is and the fourth with the work he's doing right now in jail. Mostly everybody in that jail found another way to start helping other people. But like, where's that at before this all happened? Like, where is this all goodwill? She's mentioned the African American community. Where was that before that? We've been down in South St. Pete and that district he's representing. Never seen him his face show up not one time. So we're kind of saying, is this all this is after what happened to him, or this was work he did before the insurrection?
Well, if I can answer that.
Yes, Cathi.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So okay, and that's a great question. Thank you for calling in with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeremy actually ran in 2020 for Congress, and on almost all of the same issues that he is now running for House. And Jeremy lives in Tampa, and this particular district goes from Riverview down across the bay to South St. Pete. So And if I can just address why all of us went to January 6th, me and Jeremy included, understand we felt very strongly about the fact that our election was stolen, and all we wanted was a fair recount. We just wanted to get the electors to sit down and actually really research what happened that day. And that should have been, like Denise was saying, let's just find out the truth. Wherever that might fall, we were all happy to accept that, but we just saw too many anomalies going on with the election of 2020. So that was why we were all there. It wasn't for any other nefarious reason except to bring attention to what we believed. Now, as far as what's going on down in South St. Pete, I totally agree with you. I personally, by the way, have been an activist for years. Mm-hmm. I was going down to South St. Pete myself during the summer of 2020, the so-called Summer of Love. and I was doing speeches down there. Bernie Jacques, if you all are familiar with Bernie, he's running for District 69 right now. He came down. Sheila Griffin, who was a big spokesperson, she's no longer living in South St. Pete. I've heard she's moved out of the state, but I had speeches down there in the parks called Black and White Unite for Blue, because I believe that 81%, at least that's what the data tells me, 81% of the black community does not want to get rid of police. And there was a big pushback then to defund the police. Well, where do you think that's going to end up? We've seen that in leftist cities that have allowed defunding of the police, and crime has taken over. And who gets hurt most by that? It's the black community or the poor communities in these cities like Detroit and Chicago and all throughout. You just look at the cities, the ones that are run by Democrats, unfortunately, and that very liberal leftist viewpoint are the ones that are paying the price. So Jeremy feels very strongly that we have to stop that. We have to take back control of our school systems with the CRT. Where they're trying to ram that down our throats to take control of our children. We've got to be really concerned. This is like watching a frog boil in water. And in all fairness, it doesn't hit home until it hits home. So where your issues, and we're down there, we've been down there for a couple of months now in South St. Pete. I live in St. Petersburg myself, not in South St. Pete and North St. Pete. However, I've been very concerned about the issues down in that area. But it's as everything else, it doesn't hit you until it hits you. In the pocketbook. And we always look at, if it happens to somebody else, oh, well, it's not my problem, right? World War II. First they came for this guy, then they came for that one, then they came for, the gypsies, the Jews, and I didn't care because I wasn't that. So in all fairness, but now we're reaching out and we're saying, look, it's time. Let's work together. And I hope that you'll consider joining us and coming together with us so that we can figure out how best, because that's one of the things we're working on as we go door to door down in South St. Pete, is asking people, what are the main issues? What are your concerns? Let's work together because we're neighbors. Me from North St. Pete, you guys from South St. Pete. I don't care about the color of your skin. I certainly hope you don't care about the color of my skin. But the underlying issues are what we have to start working at. And I don't see where St. Pete has improved much over the past 4 decades. So let's try something new.
Well, St. Pete has improved in a lot of areas where it's one of the fastest growing cities in the state. And secondly, just to control the narrative that you guys were saying of Jeremy campaign, CRT is only taught, unless you must be a genius, it's only taught at collegiate levels. So what you're reading from when you say CRT, that came from when we were sitting home COVID. Somebody thought it was a good idea to say, hey, our elementary kids have an ability to take something that's only teached at advanced college level. See, what you're catching is what your and Jeremy campaign is running on is narratives that's not even been proven in that way. Just like they thought the election was that was a false narrative. That hasn't been proven still today. CRT never been taught in elementary, middle, or high school. Never been taught at all.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no proof of CRT taught at any levels of elementary, middle, or high school. Nowhere in the state.
I think I'd like to encourage you to do more research on that, because it's creeping into the younger the elementary school books. I have very good friends who are constantly in this fight with the school boards because absolutely they are reaching those young kids, as well as all sorts of sex regendering. And if we don't wake up to this, folks, please do your homework, because all that stuff is being insidiously intertwined with our school books, so that unless you're a parent and you look through your kids' school books every single night, which most parents don't have time to do, we're in trouble. So wake up, please, I'm begging you. This is not a collegiate thing with the CRT, absolutely not. But that is what they're trying to convince us of.
You got the CRT going both ways. as you know, the acronym is for critical race theory. But haven't you seen the critical race theory being in reverse of that? The white nationalists have increased tremendously over the last decade. Who moved that movement right there? The same guy that led everybody to the January 6th election. You're telling me Jeremy and you, who followed yourselves up to Washington, D.C. that weekend on a false narrative that election was stolen all of a sudden because this guy lost a campaign. He's the only one has done what he has. And if that's what the leadership you guys are following, how would you want us to follow Jeremy as a leader when he was that naive to say on a no facts at all, and still to the day that the election was stolen or that need a recount or ballots weren't counted? The guy just lost.
All right.
And
So
a
as
transfer of power.
the
Jeremy and yourself followed yourself.
okay, caller,
didn't
just a
like the
minute.
result.
All right, thank you so much. This is very exciting and interesting, conversation. But as we're coming down to the end of the show, we just have about 3 minutes to wrap up. So we're just like the host to get into the wrap up segment, and maybe you'd like to be a part of the wrap up. So we're going to throw it right back over to Denise.
All right, thank you, Donald, and thank you, caller, for calling in with your comments. I'm glad that you called in. Certainly, you was listening, and I'm sure many others were. But before we close out, Cathi, what I'd like for you to do is just give them some information for the campaign. That anything that you need them to, that they could listen to, or calling, or just attend to for the next 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. And just to address lastly on what the last caller had to say with the white supremacist stuff, I've researched very much on that issue, and I can tell you that in Congress they have over the years tried to change the narrative. And if you look at the actual numbers, the real numbers of how many deaths have been caused by a white supremacist, you're going to find that your argument is not. It's not really that valid, but they can find information on brown4Florida.com. That's where our campaign is, and also for more information on Jeremy and what he was doing in D.C. that day and what has happened since, you can go to JeremyBrownDefense.com. Thank you so much, Denise, for giving us the opportunity.
And you're more than welcome, Cathi. Chamberlain, we thank you, and thank you again, caller. That was very interesting. Lisa, you expressing where you are with it and knowing, yes, you got some concerns about it, and that's what a lot of us do. You just got to know wherever you are, what you know, that you know, and what you believe and what you don't believe, and on and on. So he just hung up. Okay, thank you.
And we're right at final words.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Donna, you have something to say?
Well, actually, I was just simply saying that, it's very good conversation was going on, but we are right at that point where we just have to end it right at this point.
Oh, good, Donald. Well, anyway, I have enjoyed the conversation with Cathi Chamberlain from this 1 hour segment today, and what a blessing it is, and truly hope we can get you to come back again.
Well, I certainly hope so, and I know Jeremy's probably has been dialing like or getting in line, or just it's probably really bothered him that he couldn't come on today. I don't know what prevented him from calling in, but please have us back, or at least Jeremy, so he can explain his answers to some of what that caller had to say and other viewers that you have.
All right. Well, thank you, Cathi. Well, radio listeners, we thank you today for tuning in, each and every one of you. And we'll be back again with another broadcast with Matters of the Heart Radio Broadcast Ministry with radio host personality Princess Denise Wright. Have a blessed day and have a good weekend, and hope that you'll take time to go to church tomorrow. Or if not, just listen to ministry on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. But keep the Lord with you, and may God bless each and every one of you. Have a blessed day.